Hello and welcome to the Opening the Gates UK property market update for May 2024, where going to be going over everything that's been happening in the property market across the month of May from various different house price indexes. I'm going to be going over what the election is going to be meaning for the property market in the near future. And then also, as usual, for each update, the stats and figures that I've gone and researched and collated and be going through that. So let's jump into it and share screen. Right, so to start with, we've got the main market update from the figures that I have gone and collated. So just to confirm, as I do in each video, from left to right, we've got May 22 versus April 22, May 2024 versus April 2024, May 24 against the previous month of May 23, and then May 2024 against the 6-year average for May. So that's 2019 through to 2024. So May compared to April, there were 3.42% more properties for sale, and that's 16.33% up on last year and 23.56% up on the 6-year average. You'll probably notice a theme as we go through the different house price indexes with it, where everyone is saying there is more property for sale. I'm sure the agents watching this will also be experiencing that as well. So more properties are coming to market, properties taking longer to sell, therefore there is more properties for sale. Again, I would have said it in previous recordings, but this is a positive sign, confidence, positive sentiment in the market that there are more properties for sale. That is also going to give more choice to buyers, which is also a good thing as well. If we think back to the COVID years of not enough choice, supply was very low, demand was very high. There's much more of a balance between the two now, which is going to level out prices as well. Which you'll see again as a theme as we go through. Unsurprisingly, listings are on the up, so 5% up on last month, 13% up on May last year, and 23% up on the 6-year average. That would make sense as to why there are more properties for sale as there's more listings. So again, great news. You have definitely got people wanting to crack on with things, and the election doesn't appear to, or the election being announced, doesn't appear to have dampened people's spirits, nor does the quite sort of sticky interest rates as well. Sales agreed, some fantastic numbers here. So just below 5% up on last month, 18.5% up on May 2023, and 13.5% up on the 6-year average. So again, some very good news there. We must just caveat there, though, that May last year was still a hangover from the mini budget of September 22. And the sales agreed as a 6-year average being up again, May 2020, coming out of COVID. Obviously, the market's still shut down, I think, the first week and reopened second week. Still maybe a little bit hesitancy in the market there. But on those first three things, more properties for sale, more properties coming to market, more sales being agreed. So just real positive energy in the air there from the market, which is just really, really good news. Price changes. This is a common recurring theme. More price changes versus last month at 8.93%, 25.37% more price reductions in May this year versus May last year, and a whopping 55.38% higher than the 6-year average. So again, too many price reductions are happening. We can look at this one of two ways. Negatively is one, perhaps the public would perceive that house prices are going down. That's not the case. The data supports that. Two, is it agents or sellers are overvaluing in the first place? I think there's definitely still a lot of that. Or is it positive that sellers and agents are reacting to the market and deciding to alter prices? Again, you would have heard me say this before, but some great stats from Rightmove around how long a reduced property takes to sell, the likelihood of it selling versus pricing correctly from the outset. So if I had £1 for every time an agent said to me, no matter where they are in the country, I'm combating cheap fees and high valuations, so much data out there to support paying the right fee and getting the price right from the start. So if you justify that to sellers, you're going to get a much better chance of getting the right fee, converting it, and at the right price. If anyone wants to discuss that with me, feel free to give me a shout. On to withdrawals. So 11% more withdrawals versus last month, 37.28% down on last year, and 24.6% down on the 6-year average. So this is just my viewpoint on this, and I might have said this in the last update, but for me, it feels like there's less people withdrawn from the market because you've got more serious sellers who are motivated to move. Whereas perhaps in previous years, you had sellers trying to take advantage of low interest rates and high prices, and if they could get a crazy price, they would move. Whereas now, I think they're sticking on the market longer. You could see that with the average time on market being longer as well. Fall throughs are on the up, so 14% compared to last month, 26% up on May last year, and 9% up on the 6-year average. So again, look at your fall through rates. Is there anything you can improve on this? I did just recently record a podcast. Shout out to Mark Lansdale from Evolve Law. We discussed the conveyancing process, how you can reduce fall through rates, reduce time from sale agreed to completion. So have a listen to that episode. And yeah, if your fall through rates are on the lower side compared to the UK average or your local average, you want to be shouting about the positives from that, because if yours is staying the same or going lower, much better than ones that are increasing. And again, probably do this on most episodes, but shout out to Brian Mansell and Gazelle. Reservation agreements are a huge thing to keep fall through rates in the single digits. And then last but not least, relisted. So properties coming back to market, 3.76% higher than last month, 37.41% higher than May last year, and 24.43% up on 6-year average. So basically, more sellers are coming back to market. So that second-hand stock that was a big thing before COVID is definitely there. So yes, you can use automated prospecting software systems to send out letters to slow movers, the classic 12 weeks, 16 weeks, 20 weeks, etc. 40% of what I sold in my last year as an agent was properties that had failed to sell with other agents. So if you're interested to find out the tools, techniques, strategies, content to target properties that are on the market and increase your response rate, please do give me a shout. That's also on the loss market appraisal side of things as well. I think around 18% of what I sold had failed to sell with someone else. So yeah, if you're not already targeting on market properties, please do it, because there's a lot changing agents. But you can't just send out generic letters and hope for a response. You've got to do something much better than that. Right, onto the next page. So we've got average asking price for new listings, May 23, and then April 24, and then May 24. So you can see there has been a steady increase there in the average asking price of new listings to market. And you can also see it in the average pounds per square foot as well. We must remember, as I probably say every time I record this, this is the average asking price for new listings. So when you get the public saying, oh, but Rightmove House Price Index said that house price has gone up by X, only around 50%, give or take, of those properties are actually going to go on to sell, and the lower price points, typically speaking, are more likely to sell as well. So this will give an idea on confidence in the market and what sellers are perhaps thinking, but the sales agreed is actually going to show you what is truly happening in the market. So if we scroll down to that, we have got average asking price of sale agreed. May 23 to April 24 was slightly down, but then it has increased when you look at May 2024. So average asking price of sale agreed properties slightly up on last year, but you're probably looking at around what, 1-ish% there. But good positive things there. So if you've got any buyers there saying, oh, I'm going to offer ridiculously low, or I'm not interested in buying because I'm waiting for prices to come down. We've had a very, very positive year considering everything that's been going on with all the political and economic uncertainty, which I'll come into some more detail on as well. And then the pounds per square foot, again, a steady increase there. So we're sitting at £348 a square foot on the average sale agreed property. And then last bit on this, before I turn over to my book, which I've got here, some notes I've written down. Mortgage approvals for house purchases have been going up steadily for about 6 months in a row now, and I'm not really seeing that reported out there. And again, I would have said it in previous episodes, but it's not just house prices which impact what is happening in the market. It's a supply, it's a demand, and particularly with interest rates where they've gone in the past couple of years, net mortgage approvals for house purchases is a big one. So you can see in this graph that it's been trending upwards for about 6 months now. March, April were pretty much the same figures, as like a couple of hundred between them. But again, not seeing too much of this in the media. So great news around mortgage approvals for house purchases. So let's say you've got the 4Ds when it comes to moving home, 3 of them, which I believe would take up 50% of the market: death, divorce, debt. That other 50%, the last D is desire. So those aspirational movers, it does feel like those kind of second steppers, upsizers, they have been returning to the market. And I think it shows that a base rate at 5.25% and what interest rates have been doing hasn't actually slowed down the market as much as people may have thought. Zoopla and Rightmove are both on record, which will see me go through the house price indexes shortly. They're on record as saying they think there'll be 1.1 million transactions this year, which is pretty steady. Of course, we'd love more transactions than that, but 1.1 million isn't bad. That would work out to be, if you added up all the properties in this country from owner occupied, privately rented, social, that's about a turnover rate of 3.6%. So have a look at how many properties are in your marketplace, times that by 3.6%, and that's probably what you're going to see as the number of transactions this year. Of course, it will fluctuate from market to market because what happens in the southwest compared to the northeast compared to London might be slightly different. But I've been tracking this for a few years now, and you do typically see around 3.5% of properties will transact each year. If you don't know what the numbers are for your local market, again, reach out to me. I'm happy to share how many properties are in that marketplace and typically how many transactions you should be seeing. Because that's also a very good way to go, well, if there's X amount of transactions, I want 10% share of the market. My conversion rate is 30%. So how many market appraisals do I need to go out to? So how many letters do I need to send? How many social media posts, etc., etc. So just going to run through a few more points here, but are not on my slides. So I've said about mortgage approvals, transactions. So this is HMRC. Transactions are up 4 months in a row, up year on year for the first time since November 2022. So again, that you've got obviously a 6-month lag with land registry data. And of course, when they actually went sale agreed. So I think we've been saying in previous episodes that it's going to take quite a while for the data to turn positive again on HMRC, but it's moving in the right direction. And it's up 5% from March 2024, where it was about 86,240. April this year it was 90,430. That's 10% higher than April 23. It's good news there. It is 10% lower than 5-year average. Got to remember though that 2 or 3 of those were in the lower interest rate environment, stamp duty holiday, the race to space, COVID thing. But again, I feel like when I'm saying that, oh, but we had this, there's no such thing as a normal market. So yes, you could say, oh, well, let's look back at like 2019 because that was a more normal market in inverted commas, but there's always something going on. Stamp duty holiday, interest rate changes, political, economical, inflation, war, all sorts of things we've had in the last half a dozen years. You've got to take it with a pinch of salt. There's always going to be those variable factors there. Inflation, I don't think this is getting reported enough on this. So inflation hit 2.3%, and that is its lowest figure since the summer of 2021. So almost 3 years since it's hit that number. GDP grew by 0.6% in the first quarter, which was a positive after 2 drops in a row, which is technical recession. Again, not hearing much of that. And then we've got to remember as well, the Bank of England is at 5.25%. I think the next meeting is Thursday this month, if I've got my calendar right. So we've had 6 pauses in a row at 5.25%. And actually, the last 2 times the Bank of England have met, no one has voted to increase the bank rate, which again shows we're moving in the right direction. If I had a crystal ball, I think that the bank rate will pause again this week. There'll be more members who vote to pause, and then perhaps later on the year we'll start to see some drops. If it does drop this week, that would be absolutely amazing. Just to remember as well, the long-term average for 330 years, the average base rate is 5.91%. So if you ever hear anyone saying rates are really high, they're the highest they've been in 15 years, that's comparing it to the anomaly of sub 2% rates of kind of the start of 2009 through to 2021. So take that with a pinch of salt. However, I must add, so newly taken out mortgages up 1 basis point to 4.74% in April, and then outstanding is up to 4.46%. And that's an increase of 7 basis points from 3.57%. So yes, mortgages are more expensive. I'm not disputing that, but it could be a lot worse than that. So that's my market update there. I said that I was going to go through the general election. So I'm going to run on to general election bits now, some data I've been collating over recent months, and then just going to go through the house price indexes as I normally do. So to start with, there we go. So mortgage. So this is from Nationwide. So mortgage approvals around the general election. They've also got the pandemic impact in there because, of course, that dropped off. But as you can see, basically, there's going to be a recurring theme across elections to show that buyer demand, seller supply, prices, activity, really not much impacts on it. So yeah, if you want any of these images that I'm going to be going through, again, reach out to me. I'll be very happy to share them with you. So yeah, mortgage approvals. Yes, you've got a couple of bits that have a bit of a drop. There are mostly things that go up here. So just to confirm where I'm hovering now, that's the election. You've then got T minus 1, 2, 3 months and so on. And then you've got 1 month after, 2 months after, so on. So you've got that there. We then got prices around the election again from Nationwide. You see in 97.01, they went up, as did they in 05, 15, and then 2010, 2019. Not much of a difference there. Great graph here from Rightmove from the 15 and 19 elections. So this is based on buyer demand. So in terms of inquiries coming in, as you can see, after the election, things do really shoot up. You've got that renewed positivity and energy to the market. And then this one here is a huge one. And if you're not already using this image, put it out in emails, blogs, do video, do social media, do direct mail. And this is a good example going back to what I said earlier for on-market prospecting. I would be sending out a letter to properties currently for sale and say that whilst we have an election coming up on the 4th of July, in the next month, if your estate agent is saying to you, no one's going to buy your house in the next month because it's slow, this is a great image to share in that letter to say 95% of home movers say the upcoming general election will not affect their moving plans. So if your agent is telling you things are quiet and slow, please do reach out to us and we'll let you know what's actually happening in your market. So as I sort of was showing on the last screen, in 2015, demand from buyers was consistent leading up to the election. They experienced a post-election boost in the June when the annual change moved from a 9% increase to an 18% increase. So again, you might say to these sellers who are on the market, why don't you change estate agents so that when that renewed demand comes in, they've got a brand new listing date, perhaps a new price, new marketing, etc., etc. And then similarly in 2019, demand remained stable across October and November. They saw the annual increase of 13% in the December, followed by the annual increase of 14% in January 2020. That was right at the end of my time in estate agency. And I definitely noticed an uptick in December, January from that election. And it got crazy busy. And that's obviously before we then went into the pandemic and the lockdown. So how will borrowers feel at election time? So I think I got this graph from Knight Frank. So really, as we go to the election now, the base rate is 4.5 higher than the last election. So yeah, borrowers are going into this election with much higher interest rates. But again, must caveat that this period here between 2010 and 2021, interest rates were ridiculously and historically low there. Shout out to Chris Watkin. I think he put this graph together by using data from 20EA. Shout out to 20EA as well. The data in my market update came from there. But as you can see from this, people perhaps would have thought at the election in December 19 or as the pandemic hit in March 20 that prices would fall off a cliff, as they thought with Brexit, as they thought with the mini budget hangover, the list goes on. But as you can see, pounds per square foot continued to rise. And according to Chris's chart here, you can see it at around £305 a square foot. As I did the market update earlier, actually, let's just go back to that. It'd be helpful if I knew where I was. We're now looking at £348 a square foot. So there we go. So we are now 3.5 years on from, if my maths is right, from this graph. And you've got a further 10 to 15% increase in the pounds per square foot. The thing with, I don't know if I've discussed this before on any of my market updates. The thing is with pounds per square foot, it's a really, really good rule of thumb. And it's not used enough by estate agents to evaluate what is happening with prices. Because, for example, when you look at average house prices per se, as a number, if there's more property sold at higher in the market, if there's more property sold at lower in the market, that can impact the average prices. But when it comes to pounds per square foot, that is a much better measure. Of course, it's not going to be, it's not the be all and end all. You've then got other factors, plot size, supply, demand, views, condition, presentation. You've got all those different factors, but pounds per square foot is such a good metric to look at. And again, anyone watching this, if you want to understand a bit more about pounds per square foot, please do reach out to me, because it was instrumental in helping me appraise value property back in the day and get more accurate pricing with sellers and actually give them evidence about the pricing rather than the other agent who just plucked a figure out the sky. Election impact. So this from Night Frank. I think this is a great graph. I'm going to concentrate on the UK sales side of things. As you see, you get an initial uptick after the election, then it kind of dips back down. So again, I'd be saying to any sellers, look, let's take advantage of this renewed energy after the election. Let's get on the market now. Again, I'll go on to discuss it when we go through the Rightmove House Price Index, but the amount of time it's taking to agree a sale on a property, then for it to go through the conveyancing process, people need to be getting their properties on the market now to be moving in 2024. That could actually be a marketing message, perhaps a Santa's hat or Santa sitting on the beach or something. I'm just being really random now, but I think that's something to consider for a marketing purpose, because people perhaps who are still thinking of moving maybe will go, I'll put my house on the market in September, October to move this year. We've got to explain to them the process does take a lot longer than they perhaps think. This is a great chart from Hamptons as well, looking at sales agreed in the 3 months prior to elections and 3 months after. So 7% increase for England and Wales before and 6% after. So again, all the metrics are showing around supply, demand, new properties to market, sales agreed, pricing, etc. Really, there's not like people think, oh my God, the election, I'm not going to move. What's going to happen to the market? History is showing not a great deal changes in that. A great chart here from Dataloft, again, looking at the prices before an election, after an election. As you can see, there's only one negative there, which is 3 months before the December 19 election. So again, no real impact on house prices there. And then the last bit on the election, this is a really, really powerful chart from Savills. Long and short of it, 79% of people they surveyed said they were unaffected about moving home or their commitment to move home in the next 12 months. You had a few who were somewhat more committed and some significantly more committed, but actually only 8% of people were less committed with that. So again, some really positives there. So please do feel free to use this information that I've shared in, again, blogs, social media, video, print marketing, conversations with buyers and sellers. They're perhaps sat there now on their hands going, well, I don't really know what to do. What's the election going to mean? This is all really, really useful information to show what has historically happened and what other people are thinking. Now, we are, as a race, herd animals, if that's the right thing to say. We do like to follow the crowd. So if you can show your potential buyers and sellers that 79% of people are unaffected by the election, there you go, they're probably going to follow that crowd. Or add that even further, what is it, 80, 79, 86, 92? 92% of people unaffected or looking at increasing their commitment to moving home from the election. So main market update, general election I've run through. Now just going to do the house price indexes. I won't spend too much time on these as I've spent a lot more time on the main market update and the general election stuff. So as I said earlier, Rightmove pointing things in the right direction in terms of asking prices up, sales agreed up on the first 4 months of the year. What's interesting here is if you look 17% higher than last year for sales, 12% increase in the number of new sales come to market. So in their viewpoint, the first 4 months of the year, sales agreed are outpacing new instructions from their data, which is a good sign because if there was 12% more sales agreed because there was 12% more new instructions, then yeah, there's more sales because more stock come to market. However, this is actually showing that sales are on the up more. So that's positive news. I really like this language. Despite these positive lead indicators for higher transaction levels, the painful average of 154 days between a sale agreed and legal completion is a challenge. Of course, it's a challenge for your cash flow forecast. It's a challenge for movers. But yeah, if you've got a 62-day average to sell a property, and then 154 days are between sale agreement and completion, that is taking you over to Christmas. And those that reduce their asking price, and again, there has been an increase in asking price reductions, as I said earlier, they take what did Rightmove say? 3 times longer to sell on that. So if you get the price right from the outset, I think Rightmove is saying it's about 31 days to agree a sale. So it's then not 93 days if my maths is right, if you reduce the asking price. So again, some really valuable data there to be sharing in, again, blog posts, social media, video, print marketing, and having conversations with your existing sellers or would-be sellers as well. Asking prices moving in the right direction, which is a real positive. Again, remember what I said earlier in the this is new to market, not sale agreed, but it shows positivity in the market. May is typically a strong month. I think we all know that. Top of the ladder is leading the way, which is interesting there. So yeah, I think again the language here is price sensitive. With prices reaching new records, mortgage rates pretty stable, so affordability is still an issue and being stretched for quite a few. That's why choosing the right agent, getting the right price, getting the right marketing is so important. Again, the language here is key. Pent-up demand is a key driver behind the increased buyer and seller activity, despite the mortgage rates remaining where they are. I think, again, buyers and sellers are just going, we just got to get on with it now because mortgages really haven't changed much in the last year on that. And that's where I think that desire part of the market, again, has improved. So a lack of available homes in that sector. So 4-bed detached, 5-bed plus properties. That's where we've seen some more positivity there. So as I said earlier, Rightmove think there's going to be 1.1 million transactions this year. So I think that's a real positive considering where we were last year. And then if I just scroll down, actually just here, I think I've said so. Rightmove said that it takes 32 days for a sale to be agreed for a property that's priced right from the outset, less than a third of the 112 days that it takes if a home requires an asking price reduction before it's found a buyer. So that was what did I say, 90 something, so 112 days. So just take that in, 112 days I'm just going to look at my calculator now, but 112 days to agree a sale of those that reduce their price, and it's 32 days for those that don't. So that's 3.5 times longer to agree a sale. So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I appreciate you want to test the market at 525. The evidence points towards 500. If we go on at 525, you're not on the right price point, and it will arguably take 3.5 times longer to sell if we end up reducing the asking price. Is that something you want to do? So powerful kind of script and dialogue there for that. So asking price trend, again, moving in the right direction, which is good to see. Again, you can see here, we've had a few months moving in the right direction. 5-year asking price trend, again, moving in the right direction. Average stock per agent, I think it's kind of the highest it's been for quite a while. An average time secured buyer, whilst it has come down a little bit from where it was at the back end of last year, still those properties reducing their asking price is impacting that. So if I move on to Zoopla, some really powerful data here. So 13% year-on-year change in sales agreed. There's an increase of 25% in the value of home for sale versus last year, and their same prices are about 0.1% down. So there are more homes for sale than at any point in the last 8 years, up 20% year-on-year. More supply boost choice, as I said earlier, and it will keep price inflation in check. So that's where we don't foresee too much house price change. So as you see here, buyer demand up, sales agreed up, flow of new supply up, stock of homes for sale on the up. So again, some positivity in the market there. So there's 230 billion pounds more value of property on the market now and that's 25% higher than a year ago. But that, again, there's more stock available. So the average agent has 31 homes for sale right now, which is interesting. Now, where was it? This bit here. Most homes for sale are new to market. However, 31% of properties currently for sale, according to Zoopla, have been on since 2023, and 43% of them have had a price reduction of more than 5%. Properties that reduce their asking price are 1.5 to 2 times more likely to change estate agents, according to Rightmove. So these ones that have been on for a very long time and reduce their asking price, don't just send them automated generic letters. Go and look at their advert, write to them directly, and explain to them what you would do differently to increase their chances of selling. Look if there's any properties that you've sold in the vicinity in the time they've been on the market. Look if there's anything sold with other agents, and go and explain to them that the market is positive, because their agent might be saying, oh, we've got an election, the Euros are coming up, oh, it's been half term. Go in there, show them what's happening, tell them what you can do to get their property sold. I promise you, going off that secondhand stock is going to be a key thing for the second half of 2024. So yeah, increase in stock, said about that. Quarterly house price inflation to April. So again, prices moving in the right direction following a couple of blips here, as you can see. And then there are currently 392,000 sales currently in the pipeline to complete in 2024. So again, any buyers or sellers hesitant, say, well, there's about 400,000 people going through the process at the moment, or arguably, sorry, 400,000 sales. You have a buyer and seller on each of those transactions. So arguably, there's 800,000 people right now who are going through the moving home process. So again, if anyone's unsure about moving, quote that figure to them. Hopefully, again, as herd animals, it will make them realize from social proof that other people are making that move and not holding off for it. Again, Zoopla have said they expect 1.1 million transactions, as Rightmove said as well. So just whiz through this. So home.co.uk have said asking prices have risen fairly modestly. Again, good language there. Total unsold sales stock has gone up by 21,000. So it's about 476,000 unsold properties. That's the largest it's been since November 2018, according to their data. So again, for any sellers you're speaking to, buyers have got more choice. Mortgages are still higher than what they're used to. Therefore, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, you've got to price competitively, choose the right agent, get the right marketing. Typical time on market for unsold properties is sitting at 165 days. Again, that's increased slightly on May 2023. There's more instructions versus last year. I said that earlier. And then key language here. Let's just go back. The increase may be based on the hope of a cut in mortgage rates as opposed to the actual supply-demand balance of the market. And if I scroll through here, so again, asking prices moving in the right direction, which is good. Again, you'll notice here, again, moving in the right direction during the mini budget hangover. Obviously, prices were going the other way. Total stock for sale, again, you can see it's on the rise here. However, still not reached where it was in 2014. So 10 years ago, it's more like at the 18-19 levels. So again, there wasn't an oversupply of properties to market in 18-19, but of course, interest rates are higher than they were then, which impacts buyer affordability. So whilst buyers still want to buy, sellers have got to appreciate their budgets are not stretching as far as they would have done, well, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago. And I think that was that for that. Again, these are always good, like sort of heat map kind of things that I'd recommend you use on socials. Some really good like infographics you can do with that. UK house price index from gov.uk. I'll just quickly whiz through this. So their latest data is from March. They found that house prices have risen 0.7% in March compared to February, and annual prices up 1.8% in the year. So current UK average house price is 283,000. Again, lagged data. This is showing we've come out the other side of a mini budget hangover. Transactions on the up, mortgage approvals on the up, base rate is steady, inflation's down, GDP grew. There's lots of positivity in the air, but again, not for sellers to get carried away with it on that. And then if I just go over to the UK house price index, This shows, so March 24, the average was 282,776. In April 2023, it was 278.5. It's gone up about 1 to 2%, as we've just seen. And around September 2022 was the height of the market at 288,901. So call that 289. So really, you're only a few percent down or several £1,000s down on the peak. Again, a very powerful statistic to be sharing with any would-be buyers who are a bit nervous about entering the market. And then last few bits to run through. eServe House Price Index. They look at cash and mortgage sales agreed. So this isn't asking price. This isn't data from 6 months ago. This is the here and now. So they're saying that price falls are getting even smaller. Transaction levels are still low, but that's moving in the right direction. On that, again, they're looking at April 23 at 370, whereas now it's at 360. So again, they're seeing a little bit of a dip there. This is why it's so important to know what all these house price indexes, because you never know what a buyer or seller might be quoting. Buyers might be looking at this house price index when they're negotiating. The seller might be looking at the Rightmove house price index. So it's always good to know these inside out. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but there's some really, really good data in the eServe house price index. UK RICS survey. Again, I'll scroll through this quickly. So if we look at prices, they have crept up in the last few months. Inquiries seem to be stabilizing over the past month. New instructions on the up again, which is good to see. Sales agreed again on the up. Price expectations have settled a little bit. Sales expectations again settled a little bit. Average sales per surveyor, again, settled a little bit. Stock per surveyor on the up. And then sales to stock ratio down a little bit. So again, I think this shows that we've got a fairly good balance between supply and demand. But pricing is so important. It's very, very much a price sensitive market. And then property mark. I can't remember if this is newly released or not. I might have already gone through this in the last market update for April, but I'll just run through it quickly again. So number of market appraisals down, increase number of potential buyers registered on that. Again, go through and have a look at this chart yourself. Some really interesting data around inflation, base rate, GDP, all sorts of different things. But again, it will again show that how the data varies from one index to another, because this, for example, is showing viewing numbers on the increase. Registration of buyers on the increase. Just go down here. New supply sort of settled there. They're saying stock levels decrease. It's slightly different to what's been said in the other indexes. Right, on to Nationwide and Halifax. So here are the charts on mortgage approvals and house prices around the election, which I spoke about earlier. Monthly change up 0.4% and annual price change for Nationwide 1.3% up. So again, positive stuff there. Consumer confidence, again, looking like it's moving in the right direction. Unsurprisingly, after all the political and economic impact we've had of recent times. But as they say in here, so will the election impact the housing market? They've analysed house price movements in the months around previous elections and also 2016 EU referendum. As the chart illustrates, past general elections do not appear to have generated volatility in house prices or resulted in a significant change in house price trends. So again, some really good language to be using there in any content with buyers and or sellers. And then if I scroll down here, you'll see that the average price in May 24 is around 264. We go back to May, June 23, again, slightly up, and only ever so slightly down on the peak of just before the mini budget. So again, some more trends there. You've got these really good graphs as well in terms of house price to earning ratios and price changes. So again, you can see that house price to earning ratios has dipped down and is getting closer to the long run average, but again, still has some way to go on the affordability trend. Halifax House Price Index, again, they're saying that it rose by 0.1% in April and 1.1% annually. So again, some good data there from Halifax. So if I just scroll down to their chart here, again, April 23 at 286, it's now looking at 289. So again, moving in the right direction. Bricks and Logics, they've looked at data from the end of January to the end of April. and they found the average sales value has risen by 2.1%. Again, shout out to Bricks and Logic. I think their heat map data is really, really good. So very, very powerful thing to use on socials as well. And then last but not least, really moving. My understanding is that they have conveyancing quotes on about 9% of the market. So they're looking at essentially quotes are done, as they say on the screen, 12 weeks before completion happens. So it offers a unique insight into what's happening ahead of time. So what I've done in terms of these different house price indexes, you've got things which are looking at a lag. So land registry data. You've then got things like really moving or 20 EA data, Bricks and Logic data, which is looking at more like the here and now. Again, Halifax Nationwide looking at mortgage data. eServe is looking at mortgage and cash data from the here and now. So there's lots of different indices to be looking at. And they're seeing in Q2 average price of 308,929, and in Q1 they're seeing it as 311,593. So not much of a difference there. So quite a long house price index there. I hope everyone has enjoyed watching it. Please do, as I said earlier, reach out to me if you've got any questions on anything that I've discussed. Please do like, review, share, subscribe, comment, pass it on to other people so that they can watch the update as well. But yeah, you'll see me at the start of July. Before the general election happens, where I'll be doing the H1 market update, so looking at the first half of 2024 and how it's compared to first half last year and a 6-year average. So stay tuned to that. Stay tuned for that for a month's time. And thank you very much for watching. I will see you all soon.